Hi everybody, it is Amy here again. I am coming to you today. It's super windy outside, so if you hear random noises, it's probably the wind. I want to talk to you today about being productive, something that we all could get better at, I'm sure. I'm one of them. I've talked about it a lot on my blog about how I'm going to be more productive, get more done, produce more products, and things like that. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining. Drop a like if you're here. So recently, to try and help myself become a little bit more productive and learn a little bit more about it, I took a course through Melissa Griffin's website called the Productivity Power Pack. And I'm going to look at some of my notes, so forgive me if I'm looking down a lot, but I want to share some of the information that I learned with you because it was really great stuff. And I think you all should know about it too. It's definitely going to help you get more done with work, with family, and life in general. Okay, here we go. There are a few things that are motivation killers. So I know I've had a lot of issues with motivation in the past. Recently, I am pregnant and therefore tired a lot. So I was taking a lot of naps, which is necessary to rest when you're pregnant, but it was starting to get a little bit out of control. So I've had to really cut back on the naps and the rest and save that for nighttime. But some other motivation killers, multitasking. Hi, Tiffany. Thanks for commenting. So this is a perfect segue. Thanks, Tiffany. You put hashtag multitasking because you're listening to this while you're unloading the dishwasher, which is probably not a bad way to multitask, but multitasking is one of our biggest motivation killers because you think you're getting more done, but you're not focused on any one thing. So trying to, for instance, listen to a training call while working on something for work, working on writing a memo or writing some sort of plan that you have. Those things are motivation killers because you're not 100% focused on what the training is supposed to be that you're listening to, and you're not 100% focused on writing whatever task it is that you're writing. I know for me personally, I need things to be very quiet when I'm reading or writing anything. So I know that that is one motivation killer for me, is to try and multitask and listen to something or watch something while reading or writing something else. So you kind of have to figure out what works for you and what's going to help you get a little bit more done and what's not. A couple other motivation killers that were in the course: rereading messages. So constantly, reading an email once it comes in and then setting it aside and then going back to it later. You're looking at it twice. Why not just respond and get the thing done the first time you see it? That's super helpful as opposed to looking at the same thing multiple times. The need for perfection. I am a self-proclaimed perfectionist and control freak. So I totally understand that you want things to be right 100% of the time, but I've started a new philosophy where it's done is better than perfect. So sometimes you have to put that perfectionism aside and just get something done. That will help you get it done, not worry about, how perfect it is, and move on to the next thing that you have to do. So those are some motivation killers. Multitasking I thought was kind of interesting just because you always hear that that's supposed to be really good for being productive and getting more things done, doing more at one time, when really you're not 100% focused on any one thing. So your overall progress takes a step back. Moving on to getting a few more things done. I really loved this quote that was in the training. You have to make space for your goals to occur. How mind-blowing is that? You have to clear out all the stuff that's not necessary so your goals can occur, so you can achieve those goals and those dreams and get the things done that you really want to get done, not that you have to get done. I thought that was awesome. And then a few things to help get more done. I learned about this website called rescuetime.com, R-E-S-C-U-E time.com. And what it does is it tracks your daily computer time. So it tracks how long you're spending on Facebook, how long you're spending on email, how long you're spending scrolling through Pinterest. So I haven't tried it yet, but I really want to because I'm kind of scared to see exactly how much time I spend in all of those places. Now, if somebody knows of a way to block Facebook from my computer, let me know in the comments because I need to do that sometimes. I need to block it so I don't go there and waste time. So rescuetime.com. Try it and see if you're surprised at something that you're spending a ton of time on that you didn't think you were. Batching is another way to get more done. And this is something I've started doing a lot for the blog. So batching is really just taking a day or a block of time and doing all of one thing. So for instance, for my blog, I'll try and take a day where I do all the photographs for the posts in the upcoming week or two. And that's kind of a stretch. It usually doesn't always happen, but I try and do that. So I batch all my photos on one day. I can batch all of my blog writing on another day. I can batch all of my graphic creation. Hi, Valika. Love seeing your face too. I can batch all of my graphic creation or content upgrade creation and design work. And what that does, it kind of is going back to that multitasking thing and not multitasking, right? You're focusing on one thing for a large chunk of time and you're knocking all that out. Knocking out all the photography, knocking out all the writing, knocking out anything else that you have to do. So that works really well with any sort of job you're doing, especially if you have a deadline coming up. You have a plan in place to get certain things done in order to get that project done. Why not look at your plan, see what you have to get done, and everything that requires research is done on one day. Hi, Oli. Nice to see you. Everything that requires writing gets done in a certain block of time. Everything that requires, research, writing, whatever that next thing is, batch it all together at one time so you're solely focused on doing that one thing. And then after all those chunks of time, you come back and you put it all together and then your product's done. So it works really well for me for blogging, so it might be something that you can use in your job or at home even. Get all your cleaning done in one day, get all your laundry done in one day, whatever it may be. So batching is a really great concept to help get more done. And then another thing that was in the training was new to me was called process checklist. Thanks, Michelle. Process checklist. It's basically taking one task that you have to do and making a checklist for that entire thing. So, for instance, a blog post. There are a ton of things you have to do to publish a blog post. You have to take photographs, then you have to edit them, then you have to upload them, then you have to write the blog post, you have to add links, you have to make graphics, you have to do a search engine optimization, you have to look into Google keyword searches. I mean, there's just a ton of things. So, for instance, one checklist would be publish a blog post, and then you make a checklist of all of those things that you have to do to publish that blog post. So that is a great reminder whenever you are working on a blog post or whatever the task that you have is. Whenever you're working on that task, you pull up that checklist, you run down it, and make sure that you've hit all of those wickets in order to get that task done. And something that's really great that I hadn't thought of, and I'm just not at that point yet, is if you have a virtual assistant or in a corporate job, you have an actual assistant, you can just hand that checklist over and say, hi, Shannon. You can hand that checklist over and say, I need this task done, and these are all the steps that you're going to have to do to get it done. Check in with me after XYZ step, and I'll see, how you're progressing. So process checklists are really great at streamlining each task that you have to do. And finally, I want to talk about a method that has become really helpful lately for me. It's called the Pomodoro Method. So it's more about timing, but it's timing you to be more productive. So the Pomodoro Method is taking one task and spending 25 minutes on that task. After the 25 minutes are up, you take a 5-minute break. And then after 4 Pomodoros, as they're called, so that's 2 hours, 25-minute work, 5-minute break, 25-minute work, 5-minute break, times 2. After 2 hours, you take a 15 to 30-minute break and that I would recommend is probably like getting up from your computer or getting away from the space that you're doing your work in and, doing something else, taking a quick walk, grabbing a snack, grabbing a water, something to recharge, re-energize, focus on something else. And it will help you be more productive by spending those 25 minutes solely focused on getting that one task done. And then the timer goes off and you take a break and you say, I'm done. And it's kind of liberating to know I just did this one thing for 25 minutes and I am so much further ahead in getting it accomplished than I was when I started. So I did this the other day. I took my daughter to a drop-in daycare for 3 hours and I did 6 Pomodoros, sorry, the math. I did 6 Pomodoros during that time and I got so much more done than I have ever gotten done, probably ever, with her around or even during her nap times. It's just harder to focus. But setting your mentality to the point where you know that you're going to be spending. Hi, Tara. Great to see you again today. Thanks for my headshots. Spending those 25 minutes focused on that task and then taking a quick break, I was able to really focus on what I was trying to do, and I got so much more done in those 3 hours because my mentality had changed. I knew that I was spending those 25 minutes solely focused on one thing, and I got it done, and it was great. I felt so proud of myself after because I was so much further along towards the goal of what I was working on. So I highly recommend you try the Pomodoro Method. It really worked for me, and it's really easy. Oh, they're pretty, thanks. It's really easy to just Google timer and set the timer on your computer for 25 minutes. Just make sure your sound's on so you can hear the timer end, and then get all that work done in those 25 minutes. So I loved doing that the other day. So quickly, I want to recap. Thanks everybody for joining. We're talking about how to be a little bit more productive in our lives and work and getting more done. So don't motivation killers. Don't multitask. Try not to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. Oh, my grandma's here. Hi, Grandma. And don't reread messages or look at the same thing multiple times because you're just wasting time. Take care of it the first time you see it. So avoid those motivation killers. And then how to get more done. RescueTime.com to help figure out what you're spending your time on the computer. Batching tasks and figuring out, working on one task at a time for multiple things. And then a process checklist, one task, a checklist of everything you need to do for that task. It'll help you stay on track to get that task completed or help your assistant or whoever's helping you with that project complete that task as well. And then highly recommend the Pomodoro Method for kind of batching your time and focusing your effort on one task at a time. So if you found any of this helpful, be sure to comment below, like this, or even share it with somebody that you think maybe, do you have somebody working for you that's not very productive? Maybe send it to them or not. But use it in your own life and let me know if you feel like any of these methods or ways to do things have helped improve what you're working on and helping you to become more productive. So again, thanks for joining, talking about being productive. Lots of good tips that I learned from Melissa Griffin's Productivity Power Pack. If you just Google Melissa Griffin, you can find her website and you can take that course. It took me a few hours in a day to get through the videos kind of off and on, so it doesn't take long. And you can learn even more than what I talked about, but I hope that you found something interesting and useful. Thanks, Oli. Hopefully you found something interesting and useful and that it will help you be more productive. Thanks, everybody. Bye.